Hello, everybody. This is Lynn Yeldell with 7th Scout. We are thrilled that you have joined us today. I just wanted to say a quick hello and hope that all of you are doing well, you're being safe, that you are with your kids and pets at home, and that you're doing the best that you can with everything going on. So thanks so much for joining us today. I also have two other scouts on the line with me today, and want to go ahead and get things started here shortly, as it looks like the room is filling up quickly. So again, my name is Lynn Yeldell. You all are joining in what I believe is the 5th of our webinars in this series, which we're calling Digital Marketing During Coronavirus and Beyond. We know that a lot of things that are happening that we're making adjustments for today might actually end up being permanent adjustments for a lot of our companies. The first several that we've done, we started actually on April 1st, and we're beginning to build on the content. So as I mentioned, today's scouts that are going to be on the call, I'll be doing most of the presenting, but you will be hearing from two of my colleagues. You have Rhodes Gibson, who obviously, as our partner and director of digital, is much better at digital products than I am, so thank you, Rhodes. I'm Lynn Yeldell. I am the director of strategy, which was very strategic for me to get the right slides up there. And then you have Eve Molnar, who is our designer. She'll be chiming in as well as watching all of the Q&A. So thank you guys very much. Let's get rolling. So wanted to kind of talk about the webinars that we've done. They've been building up to this point. The first one we started was on April 1st. What a doozy of a day to start a pandemic webinar on. But we kind of used that one as we were in this situation for a few weeks by then, and we started talking about with digital marketing, what are some of the do's and don'ts? What are the new ground rules? How are things shaping up? 2 weeks later, we did one on search engine optimization, SEO. The last one that we did was, now that we've kind of talked about the ground rules and we've talked about ways that you can attract more traffic, attract more prospects and clients, how do you know if it's working? So the last one we did was ROI and analytics. And so it's been really great building up. And the next one, kind of by popular demand, is the one that we're doing today, which is engaging social media. We'll be talking about, the first half of our presentation, we'll be talking about how coronavirus and all these stay-at-home orders and people consuming content differently has shifted. And then we're going to talk about just really good practices for social media, not only right now, but things that you can build upon as you go forward. And then save the date for next webinar, which will be 2 Wednesdays from now. We'll be going over inbound marketing strategies. How can you use the content that you're producing, the social media channels, getting all the right keywords and bundling it together, and using your website and these channels like a magnet to attract the best people to your site. So if you've missed any sessions, we really highly recommend you go to 7thscout.com. Go over to our blog, and we've got all of these topics sitting in there with the recordings of the content that we went over. So today we have these 7 things that we'll be going over. First, what's social media usage like today? A little bit about, things, they just aren't quite as they seem, and profiles, brands, channels, they aren't really as they might seem. So those are kind of 3 time-specific topics that we'll be discussing. And then the next 4 are really just kind of some social media basics and essentials, not only for if you're just getting started, or even if you've been at this for a while. What are some things that we need to make sure that we're doing and building upon? So let's talk about what's happening today. I found this graph here absolutely fascinating, because it is one of the few graphs that I've seen that is truly that disparate in its reporting. So this was a little bit of analysis of the unifying behavior that's happening from these times in the pandemic. It's that each of us is overwhelmingly believe that we will use social media more as we remain confined at home. Every single social media channel shows a predicted increase in usage. I got this graph from Statista, and it is as of March 30th of 2020. So if you notice on the left-hand side, that is people reporting that they believe the usage will increase by the largest order of magnitude. So 63.7% people said they believe their usage will increase for YouTube, as opposed to 1.9% people believe their usage would decrease. So starting from the left, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, Snapchat, blogs, LinkedIn, TikTok, Twitch, people are increasing their use of Twitch. I mean, across the board, we are reporting greater usage of social media. Now, this is a big deal because it's really unifying across the board, but also it's significant because prior to these stay-home orders, and in the first quarter 2020, social media usage was relatively flat at 20% of all mobile app usage, according to Nielsen. But mid-March, as these stay-home orders were issued in multiple areas, our social media app usage has now increased to 25% and is ordering in an order of magnitude greater than that. So now that your prospects, peers, coworkers, everybody is all deepening their usage of social media when they previously had told you they were abandoning these platforms, what are you going to do to adapt? If you look at this, this is part of that Nielsen study. And I found this on Axios. It goes from January 1st, the beginning of this year, through April 12th, just a little over a month ago. While the usage may be flat across music, audio, finance, and sports, it's actually decreased in lifestyle apps. I've also heard a lot of people predict this might be at least it is the pause of the influencer economy. And it might be actually, we're seeing the decline and the death of the influencer economy. What are we doing? We're not out there looking at the celebrities anymore. We're not looking to see, we don't have FOMO anymore. We're actually wanting to see each other. Our communication apps, our productivity apps, video apps, and social media apps are increasing by a significant order of magnitude. So, prior to the pandemic, though, a lot of consumers and tech companies were both becoming more aware of the overuse of social media. So we as consumers, and then also we as brands, noticed that we were a little too much into our apps and into our phones. What's significant is that we were making strategic decisions for our 2020 buys and patterns and so forth. But now, in a time when people can't connect with friends and family in person, now companies have put these efforts first. So we as brands were looking at, maybe just kind of a stasis with social media utilization. And now we notice that we need to meet our clients, our prospects, and our people where they are. So increase in social media. This next one, things just are not as they seem. Here's an interesting, going back to history. In the face of COVID-19, social media has been the way for us as individuals and communities to stay connected while we're physically separated. And I found this fascinating. During the 1918 flu pandemic, the CDC estimates that a third of the world's population were infected with this flu. But people did not have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. They didn't have the communication that we now have in the 21st century. We're getting information and sharing it a whole lot faster. So for context, a public health report in Minneapolis's response to the 1918 flu showed that this critical information about the virus and how it was spreading was shared via postal workers, by Boy Scouts, and by teachers. Like, can you imagine having learned about COVID-19 from a Boy Scout coming to knock on your door, encouraging you to wash your hands? This is absolutely fascinating. So with the advent of social media in the 21st century, not only are we learning the latest news updates, we're also using these social media platforms to provide personal and business updates. For businesses, this means leveraging social media to support employees and customers like never before. For the government, it means doing its best to efficiently share factual and up-to-date information. So now our social media has become a marketing platform like never before. I looked at this chart, so going back from the beginning of the year, and if you close your eyes and you're honest with yourself, if I were to tell you that I'm looking for a face mask, I mean, how many of you probably would have thought that thing that you put on from the beauty counter that tightens your pores and gets rid of your wrinkles and does all of this beauty? That's what we all thought a face mask was. But look at what happened along the way. That blue line was cosmetic face mask purchases or searches, and that orange line is people looking for a face mask within the health category. So we know this as marketers, that search terms over the course of a long period of time can change to mean different things. All that's happened now is that that dynamic still holds true, but the time frame is certainly compressed for the shifts that we watch happening for search, beautifully represented by this graph right here. So when you think that you're talking about one thing, what's happening online and in our lives can fundamentally shift what that thing might be. Also, brands are not as they seem. Raise your hand or show some Q&A in here if you saw this post. And I will tell you, I saw it before it had that big stamp across the top. This woman, name has been blurred to protect her privacy, went out there and said, I will not shop at Costco until you remove your mandatory mask rule. So for context, as we're having this as a live webinar, we all know that sitting here on May 13th, businesses are struggling to reopen. They are looking at the best ways that they can resume being profitable, being engaged, selling their wares and so forth, but at the same time trying the best that they can be to be responsible for their team members, for themselves, and for their patrons. The last thing we're all feeling right now is wanting to get this wrong and find ourselves in a situation that could potentially be worse than where we are right now. So Costco did do, this is true, did instate a mandatory mask policy for everyone who comes in their doors, period. Whether you work there, whether you shop there, everybody has to have a mask because conventional wisdom is showing, scientific proof is showing that wearing masks can help spread, can help decrease the spread of coronavirus by cutting down on aerosolization when we sneeze or cough, and more importantly, when you have your face covered, you're not touching your face. So this has really sparked some polarizing responses from people. So Sharon says, I'm not coming back here until you remove your mandatory mask rule. Well, look what Costco wrote back. Thank you for taking such a brave stand, Sharon. We look forward to the documentary they will make about you someday. What? Costco just did what they call a clapback. A clapback isn't just saying, you know, I'll say something and you say something. Clapback is the modern day shutdown. Like Costco as a brand just clapped back at their client and said, hey, you know what? You don't want to wear a mask? We don't want you in our stores, and we can't wait to hear them make a documentary about your behavior one day. And somebody hopped in behind that and said, hey, that was a very professional response, Costco. Looks like I'm going to be getting a membership refund myself. And then Costco said, we've chosen not to refund you. Oh my goodness, my jaw just dropped. Well, guess what? That's not Costco. Costco didn't write that. Even though the logo was there and it says Costco Wholesale, first thing we can look for there is those little verifications, the little blue checks, the little stars, the thing that says this is truly coming from an authentic brand voice. I do this for a living, and I didn't think to look at that at all. This is actually from a guy who is a comedian out in LA, and he just changed, he goes out there and makes he makes these channels that are meant to represent brands and meant to provoke conversations and so forth. So things are not as they seem, but also let's all be very aware that brands also right now may not be as they seem. This happens, again, like we talked about, over the course of time, but I would definitely say that things are definitely compressed in the time frame that are happening right now. So be very aware. So we're going to shift over now. I'm going to look and make sure we don't have any questions or anything coming in. Now we're going to talk about just some basic fundamentals with social media. We're going to talk about which platforms should you be using. Now, if you're deciding to launch a company right now, or you're just getting your feet wet, like, good for you. This is going to be a wonderful fundamentals course. But for those of you who are joining us today that have, and I'm looking at some of you, very established brands and very established channels, this doesn't mean that this does not apply to you. Remember what we just talked about before? People have changed. The way they're consuming has changed and so forth. This is a wonderful time for you to do a good audit of your social media platforms. When we send out the link to the recording, I'll also send a link to this blog. This is one of our blogs on our 7th Scout site called Social Media is Engaging as Ever. Are you? So what we really recommend is to settle in on 2 or 3 platforms. Do not try to maintain a huge presence on every social media platform out there. Start by doing a search for your competitors and a few industry-related groups. That'll help you understand what's attracting clients to their sites. Any place that you can find that they have a relatively small response rate, or there are very few groups or conversations happening, that homework is already done for you. It tells you that this platform is not right for your niche. If you're already established and you can feel that some of your participation is waning, that people aren't engaging, well, guess what? A few slides below, we told you they're out there, they're talking. Maybe their consumption patterns have changed. Maybe they've abandoned that channel for something new. Go look out there and see what channels that you might be able to swap for. If you find the right response rate, look at the materials that has attracted the most responses. So when you're out there and you see that, wait a minute, I've been over at Twitter, and now I notice that people are over there on Facebook, not only look to see, is there some engaging dialogue, but also look specifically at the posts and look what was getting most of the responses, the likes and the shares. These topics and keywords are something you're going to want to research further, and we'll get into that in a little bit. We also need to make sure, as we are representing ourselves, or if we're speaking on behalf of other brands or companies, we need to make sure that we are active and that we participate regularly. Most people assume that being active and participating is the same thing, and we believe here at 7th Scout that that's not so. Many marketers believe that just reading the responses of your customers and visitors and competitors makes you an active, and I'm doing a lot of air quotes here, active member of your social media. When you act on the suggestions, the queries, the problems, and that are posted, it shows that you're not only interested, but you're listening and that you care. And goodness knows right now that is something that is more important than ever, finding your authentic voice. And really, your customers cannot be in the physical same place, so please meet them where they are and have those conversations. This is something that continues to fall through on automated postings and responses. In good days, I am not a fan of schedulers, auto replies, and responses. But I will tell you something right now, with everything shifting on the daily, it seems like, please, if you do use schedulers and auto responses, schedule your review of them and make sure that they are still accurate, not tone deaf and not offensive. Participation is another often misunderstood and underused term on social media. Most participators believe that by adding content and sharing material, that's enough, just going out there and act. But they fail to create the exposure and the brand recognition that they need. You want to interact with your customers and your competitors. Don't forget about that as well, to understand their needs, offer advice, ask questions, even suggest other resources of information, make comments that invite answers. Start a dialogue that will transcend to a variety of topics. This is how you maximize your ability to participate, and you mine the audience to discover changes in the industry for growth opportunities. Remember, there's the social part of social media. There's a great blog by a local company here called Chorus, and it's the combination of two wonderful companies, Lithium and Spreadfast. And they had a great conversation about this local Texas company here called HEB. And HEB is a grocery store, and they've done a wonderful job of responding and connecting with people. Like, customers are curious to know how their favorite brands and services and stores are responding to being prepared during this time. It's helpful to make a very proactive statement that's empathetic and forward-thinking. HEB in this post does a great job striking a tone of being prepared and supporters of their customers in this tweet. So basically, it reminds people that they've been preparing as a supply chain. They're also in a strong position to replenish the shelves, and we see that it is getting better. But it's also asking us as those consumers to do our part as well, right? They are trying to keep enough for everybody, and so they're doing their part. And they did a great job of reminding us to buy what we need and leave some for each other. So I just thought this was a wonderful representation of being active, of participating, and connecting with social media. So if we move on and start looking about mining for trends and keywords, this is what we were talking about before when you were doing some of your social media channel research and limiting it to maybe 2 or 3 channels. When you were looking around, you should be looking for combinations of keywords and start building that into your discussions that you're having on social media. So just as our society likes to come up with like new slang terms and new abbreviations, remember that term clapback? And that was from a 2003 Ja Rule song, who said that he and his crew were going to clap back, or basically to totally address and really squish down, there's a new term, the audience that was coming after them. So to keep us informed, we all need to recognize these changes in participation in the conversations that are relevant to your business. It means noticing the use of long tail search. Long tail is like 3 to 5 words. It's almost like a sentence. For HEB, it could be, where do I find the closest HEB in my neighborhood? Short tail search is 1 or 2 words. Grocery store, HEB. Just basically, they're kind of searchy terms as opposed to full sentences like my mother likes to search with, I think, paragraphs. So anyway, if you look at these long tail and these short tail keyword strings and the topics that they address, how often do these keywords combinations appear in the postings or responses that you're making? And do they lend to a new view of subject matter? Like, don't be afraid to use new slang terms yourself, but make sure you really understand their meaning. Not only will your audience recognize your brand, but it'll also increase your exposure, improve your industry authority, making you a thought leader. Keyword usage and changes all the time, and active participation will provide an opportunity to create that content that's informative, that's engaging, and it's very inviting to new users. So if you're not sure of the material you want to use, test it out. Change it accordingly to the level of responses that you receive. And make sure that you use some type of like a listening tool in this. I mean, you could go always natively to your pages and to your channels, but there's some really wonderful tools that are free. We've talked before in our ROI and analytics about Google Alerts, about native social platforms, and also other specialized tools that can help you listen into what's happening. And finally, as we call it here at 7th Scout, optimize, 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 or test, 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 iterate, iterate, iterate. Whatever you were doing last week that worked may not work this week. So testing your website pages, right, is something that's very common practice to all of us. We need to take that same muscle memory and that same discipline and apply it to your social media posting. Links and articles that support the products and services you offer need to have a prominent post on your platforms. Since failure is the key to success, and I don't like to think of it as failure, I like to think of them as less successful posts and so forth. So since not meeting the bar is a key to success, assume that some of your posts will fail to engage the audience. I think we see that a lot with clients, that they're so afraid to post something that doesn't go viral, that doesn't get responses, that they just don't post at all. Try it out. I can't tell you how many times we put something out there that was the winner. It was a beautiful photo. It had an amazing caption. We tagged all the right people, and it was a complete dud. Like, no one bit. No one liked it. And then there might be something that just tickled us or we thought was relevant, and we just help throw that up in their channel, and it goes crazy. So, don't think that you have to have it perfect every time. And the more regular that you're out there posting and watching the responses, the more you understand not what you want to do, but what your customer base wants to hear from you. Keep a track of these activities and create an A/B process to follow and analyze. Now, here's a part that we have a lot of internal controversy with our team. I hate to say controversy, it's more debate, but there's kind of two rules of thought on this. I'm a big believer that you stand by your posts. Now, you may put something out there that didn't get a big response, that you really thought people were going to like. I say leave it up there. I think social media is like walking into a room and engaging with people. So if I walked into a room and I said something and no one got a response, or I didn't get a response from anybody, I wouldn't like wish I had never said it and go running out of the room. I'd actually stay in the room, and then I'd look around and I'd listen to some of the conversations. Or I'd go up to a smaller group of people and then say something again to them that's a little bit more tailored. Well, they heard me when they came in the door, and they heard me when I came closer to them, and I've made a string of dialogue. And so I'm a big believer that when you go out there and you post something, stand by it. Now, I'll also say there's a lot of really smart people, smarter than me, that say that you may want to delete or remove postings that receive little or no responses, likes, shares. Now, some people want to treat these negative responses as a learning curve and try to find a way to resolve the issue. Negative comments and product reviews can lead to new products, can lead to new services, and a whole new content stream. At the very least, your customers will see that their problems are important to you and you want to resolve them. So I'd love to hear from you all, either in the Q&A or shoot us an email afterward. I'd love to hear how you all are managing your content. Are you deleting, or are you leaving content up there? I think the only time that you really should delete something is if it is fundamentally offensive, wrong, inaccurate, and has to do with safety or an issue like that. But let me know what you think. So tackle your social media campaigns with the same attention you craft your website content, because this is the first place your customers look for you. Be professional, be attentive, address their needs quickly, offer insight that invites questions while you keep an eye on the competition. The best thing about social media sites is joining them is free, and they give you access to a global audience looking for your service. If you do it right and be where they can find you, but also remember, keep them up to date and participate in their lives to increase brand recognition and grow your audience. So that is the end of our formal presentations. We'd love to see or hear any questions that you may have. I know Eve has been looking in the chat pane. Would love to hear if there's any questions that Eve might chime in for us. But you can also shoot us an email at hello@seventhscout.com and give us some feedback on the presentation. I'd also love to hear, we're doing inbound marketing strategies next. If you use a formalized tool like a HubSpot, we're a certified partner for that and really like their services. But I think there's 10,000 inbound marketing platforms out there. So we're going to be talking about the strategies of using your website, your emails, your social media channels really as a magnet to attract, convert, and delight your customer base. So I'm going to pause here for a moment and see if Eve or Rhodes have any additions or questions. And I do see a comment that just came in from Ida or Etta, I'm not really sure if I got your pronunciation wrong. Etta, awesome. Etta is in the Lynn camp. Yay, Etta. I'm sorry I mispronounced it first. She says, leave it. It will become relevant sooner or later is what she's learned. I'm the same way. I'm going to stand by my post. So who's against us? Who thinks we should take down the clinkers or the duds? I don't think anybody else is gonna try that one. So, well, you all, I can't thank you enough for joining us today. I really appreciate your time that you've invested with us. As a follow-up, we will send you an email with a link to the engaging social media post, a link to this blog with the recording of the webinar, and an invitation to join us 2 weeks from now at our Inbound Marketing Strategies webinar. Most importantly, we put these on for free for you. Please let us know if you have any questions or any topics. And if you're a subject matter expert, we've had some people ask if they could co-present with us, and we would be delighted to share that opportunity with you. So please be safe, be careful out there. Thank you so much for joining us. And we are going to be concluding this webinar now. So thank you all, and go have a great day. Call us if we can do anything to help you, because our motto is be nice and make better. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Ryan. Thanks for joining us. All right, everybody, take care.